Okay, here we have another scenario where they're coming in, and let's take a look at where they are when, what is it, blue hits the zone? When blue hits the zone, they are not overlapped.
Yes, they are.
Are they? Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. At 1, they are overlapped. Okay.
But then the overlap goes away.
The overlap goes away inside the zone. Thank you. Yeah, so they're overlapped at the snapshot when the first boat hits the zone, and then the overlap goes away. Does blue still have to give yellow room?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's that snapshot of when the first boat hits the zone. Doesn't matter if the overlap goes away or comes back while they're in the zone. So in this scenario, blue closes the door on yellow, and blue gets penalized, right? Doesn't matter that the overlap was broken once they're inside the zone. A lot of scenarios here. This is a classic spinnaker scenario. Here we have the 2 boats coming in, and blue has trouble with their takedown. This could be a sea boat with problems with a main sheet. Doesn't matter the class of the boat, but we've all been there. They end up wide, and yellow comes in. Does yellow have mark room? No, they weren't overlapped when blue hit the zone. Does yellow foul blue by going in there, even though they don't have mark room? No, they don't. Right, yeah. So blue can't sail above its proper course. So even though blue's upset, they got blown past the mark, and yellow comes flying in there without mark room, the reality is yellow has not committed a foul here. As long as they come around cleanly, and blue sailing its proper course cannot get to them. So you can't close the door and luff head to wind if you're blue. You're forced to sail your proper course.
Why is blue not allowed to do that if he so chose at this point? Because at the point of the entrance to the circle, he had the rights.
Yeah. Well, blue is not allowed to close the door. Because of the way the rules are written, blue is obligated to sail its proper course. Blue does not have the right to luff head to win there and try to close the door on yellow. It's a common scenario that we see because the lured boat gets upset in that situation, right? Because somebody takes room that they didn't have. But if you give it to them, they can take it for whatever reason. So here's a couple of other scenarios. We're going to go through these quick. Are these boats overlapped? Yeah, this is showing the difference of multiple boats, right? One's overlapped with another, which is overlapped with another.
Blue had the most rights of all.
Right, and then yellow closes the door on them.
Right, so that boat in between creating the overlap is very important because if yellow didn't watch, they wouldn't know that blue was part of their worldview, and she really owes room to blue.
Yeah, so it's really important if you're yellow, you need to understand everyone who has an overlap with you, not just the boat next to you physically. And in a big fleet with a lot of boats, that's tricky. But that is your obligation. And in this case, yellow gets penalized. It does not give blue room, and blue is entitled to room. Okay, this is actually, I'm going to go by. I'm going to do this fast because we could look at this one all night. There's 2 points I want to make on this scenario. Just watch it unfold for a minute. Look at yellow bail out of there and then come in. Okay. First point is many times, right? If the gate is set correctly, there are 2 zones here, and there is a dead spot in between the 2 zones that isn't part of one or the other. So sometimes people think they're in the zone because they're actually physically inside the lured marks. But if they're in that dead zone, they may not be in either zone. So that's something to pay attention to. The second thing is, as we come in here, is yellow entitled to mark room from light blue? What do you think? Who hits the zone first? Right there.
That's close.
Yes, yellow hits the zone first. Blue is in la-la land between the 2 zones. See them? They're between them, and yellow turns and hits the zone first. Is magenta entitled to mark room from green? No. Okay, this is a common question we get asked. We were just talking about this over dinner. Case 27 speaks to two boats on port coming into a weather mark. And what it asserts is, so imagine the two boats on port coming into a weather mark, and they're not overlapped. When the leeward boat gets to their ley line, they tack, right? They throw the helm over and tack to starboard immediately in front of the other port boat. That's a foul. Can't do that. So even though they're not overlapped, that weather boat has the right to come in there, and the leeward boat cannot put their boat on starboard right in front of them and not give them an opportunity to keep clear. In this case, case 27 states explicitly, a boat is not required to anticipate another boat will break a rule. Okay? You're only required to react to it after it happens, but not to anticipate it. So when a boat acquires right away as a result of her own actions, the other boat is entitled to room to keep clear. So this is really a misunderstood rule.
So the foul is really tacking too close.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with buoy room. The foul is the AS.
So what if boat number 1 says, hey, I'm going to tack 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, not if they tack too close. You can talk all you want, but if you tack too close, you've tacked too close and you've committed a foul. So communication is good, don't get me wrong. It would probably help avoid the collision that might occur otherwise, but it doesn't mean it's not a foul.
Can you remind me what the too close is?
What it says is that if the right-of-way boat is forced to change its course to keep clear, essentially that would be tacking too close. In this case, by acquiring the right-of-way, you haven't given the other boat enough initial room to keep clear. So this is exactly why coming off a leeward mark, if you start sailing upwind, you can't just throw your helm over and tack to starboard in front of the other port boats. If they don't have room to keep clear, if they're close enough to you, that's a foul. So I want to keep moving now and talk a little bit about tacking in the zone. This came up a couple of times. This is a complex worded rule, but the concept is actually very simple. So I'm not going to read the wording to you because it talks quite a bit about the scenario itself, but it uses a ton of different terms and definitions. Zone, mark, what tack we're on, are we fetching the mark or not, what is mark room, all of these are incorporated in this rule. So when you read the rule, if you're like me, your first reaction is, wait a minute, what? What is this really saying? What can and can't you do at the weather mark, whether you're port or starboard? Now, I would argue it's really not that hard. So let's take a look at what the situation is. Here we have yellow on starboard, outside of the zone. They're on starboard, outside the zone. We have blue, port, in the zone, who comes in and tacks. And note how starboard has to sail above her close haul course to keep clear. Right at the mark, right here. See that? Okay. So the way the rule works is, what tacking in the zone says is that if a boat in the zone of a mark to be left to port passes head to wind from port to starboard and is then fetching the mark, she'll not cause a boat that's already on starboard tack coming in to have to sail above close haul. What matters here, though, is blue tacks in the zone, and yellow, starboard, is on starboard entering the zone. So there the distances matter. Okay? But really, what really matters is yellow has to sail above close haul. And that's what creates the foul here. So in this particular scenario, blue gets penalized. Blue commits the foul. So what do you do if you're blue? What do you think? What options do you have? So one option would be, if you can cross, always cross. Right? Never tack to leeward. Because if you cross cleanly, that's perfectly acceptable. So when the boats are converging inside the zone and everybody's yelling at the port boat, hey, you have no rights in there, Yeah, that's not exactly true. If the port boat can cross, they have every right to cross you in there. Okay, and that would be a smart move. What else could blue do? Duck? Yep, that'd be another thing. Another thing they could do is set up earlier and be on port but outside the 3 boat length zone, right? So when they tack to starboard, they're outside the zone. They don't find themselves tacking in there inside the zone. So it's about anticipation. You can port approach, but you have to understand how this rule works, and you have to anticipate whether or not you're going to be able to cross or not.
Had the yellow boat not had to sail above its course there, would that have been okay?
So great segue. Here we have another scenario where yellow is not sailing close hauled. They're reaching in. They've overstood, right? So here blue comes in, tacks to leeward of them, right there, and around the mark they go. Did blue force yellow to sail above close hauled? No. There's no foul here. So the rule does not say proper course. Thank you. That's a great question. The rule says above close hauled. And in this case, yellow is not forced to sail above close hauled. So when you have the parade coming in on the starboard ley line and they're all overstood, yellow can come in there. Again, you need to be careful because you can't force them to sail above close hauled. Not proper course, close hauled. Okay? So, that wasn't so hard, was it? 18.3 is actually pretty straightforward if you keep those scenarios in your mind as to how it unfolds. It makes the language come alive.
So 18.4 says, when an inside overlap right-of-way boat must jibe at a mark to sail her proper course, until she jibes, she shall sail no farther from the mark than needed to sail the course. Rule 18.4 does not apply at a gate mark. So, single leeward mark only or a reach mark. Let's set that up right away. No gates, so not very common in our racing. Definition of overlap, proper course, and mark. So let's take a look at it. So here we're at a reach mark, and yellow goes super wide and cuts back. What does the rule say? So, until she jibes, yellow shall sail no further from the mark than needed to sail her proper course. So, she shall sail no farther from the mark than needed. So, until she jibes, she should be sailing closer, so this is a foul. Penalize yellow because she took it too far. Here's why it doesn't apply at a gate. Because in both blue and yellow are right-of-way boats with the other boat they're lined up with. Assume they're not all going to hit each other, and these are two separate scenarios. Blue as right-of-way boat gets to choose which gate they're going to. And yellow, same. So if blue and light blue, or blue and gray, between them, blue can decide to jibe and go to the left mark, as we see it, or she can go to the right mark and give gray mark room. Same thing with yellow and green. So that's why we don't have it at a gate mark, because it would be amply confusing, and it doesn't apply here.
But what's in between blue and yellow?
So this is just saying why it doesn't apply at a gate, because it would be too confusing. Why should green be able to force yellow to jibe?
Sure.
Green's the right-of-way boat. She's leeward.